So what do you guys think? Does this look like a gun, a stapler, brass knuckles? Apacer clearly put a lot of effort into the design of the housing of their new Commando SSD. Did they also spend as much time engineering the go-fast parts? Let's find out. So this is the Apacer PT920 Commando. It's a 240GB PCIe NVMe SSD inside this military-looking shell. The shell is supposed to provide both form and function as it is constructed of aluminum and is touted to provide some amount of passive cooling, although we'll examine that a little more closely in a minute. This version of the drive boasts rated speeds of 2500 megabytes per second read, but only 860 megabytes per second write. If you want faster write speeds, you could step up to the 480 gigabyte model, which will boost you up to 1350. I'm not sure why there's such a disparity, but for most users, even the lower end drive speed should be more than fast enough, even if the speeds don't quite measure up to the latest 960 EVO from Samsung. However, the IOPS rating of 175,000 and the mean time between failures of 2 million hours should mean that your data is safe for a relatively long time. Taking a closer look at this metal shell, it looks like there's no direct contact between the actual drive's flash memory modules and any part of the housing. Apacer describes this as convection cooling, although I have concerns that this shell could actually cause an insulating effect as opposed to allowing the heat to freely dissipate out into your case. I'll see what kind of operating temperatures we get once we strap it to the test bench. Now, at a price of $208, the Commando is significantly more expensive than competing products like the Samsung 960 EVO and Patriot Hellfire. We can attribute part of the cost to the addition of the metal shell, along with the included PCIe riser card, which typically go for about $25 or so on Newegg. Even if we assume that the housing adds another $20 or $25 to the cost, we're still looking at a product that comes in at a relatively high price point. Now, while I don't have a 960 on hand, I do have a 950 Pro that we could test against, along with the Patriot Hellfire. My testing methodology here was devised in order to try to minimize variables. The drives were tested one at a time, installed on my 7700K test bench, always in the bottommost slot on the Gigabyte Z270X Gaming K7 motherboard. There was no separate graphics card installed in order to try to prevent heat contamination from external sources. As this was done in an open air environment, this means that there was no direct airflow over the drives as there might be inside of a sealed case. So keep that in mind when looking at temps. The tests were run 3 times and all results were averaged across the 3 runs. Let's see what kind of performance numbers each drive puts up. Now that we had an idea of what kind of speeds we could expect, I pulled up Hardware Monitor to keep an eye on operating temps. With the shell in place, the drive was reading 88 degrees Celsius while running our benchmarks. That is certainly at the upper bounds of what I want a drive to operate at, but surprisingly, the Hellfire was running 4 degrees warmer, even if the Samsung drive was by far the coolest at 73. At first, I thought there was potentially something wrong with the monitoring software, so I switched to Crystal Disk Info and got the exact same results. Investing in an infrared heat gun might not be a bad idea to validate these results for the future, but for now at least we have a point of comparison. I was curious to see what would happen with the drive operating without the metal case, so I undid the 4 screws that hold everything together and took apart the riser card, exposing the bare drive. As we break it down, we can see that the Commando runs off of a Phison controller and uses MLC flash chips from Toshiba. With the drive stripped down, I popped it into the same M.2 slot and let it rip. To my surprise, temps actually went up by 6 degrees and we hit an uncomfortably toasty 94C while in operation. Sequential write speeds also saw significant decreases here of about 25%, likely due to throttling. So we can see that while the Commando does come out on top during some of our performance testing, it has a few things working against it. First and foremost, the main selling point of this drive, and one that is honestly surprisingly functional, is also the most polarizing. The metal housing will both attract some buyers looking for something unique or to fit a certain theme, while actively causing others to discount this drive entirely. I think with perhaps a more neutral black color scheme, this could actually be a nice addition as it does help with drive cooling and performance. Also, the comparatively high price point might just be a non-starter for those looking for a decent performing, low-cost drive. For $60 less, you can pick up a drive that performs similarly in the Patriot Hellfire, and for $20 less than that, the Samsung 960 EVO is a great buy. The minimal differences in read and write speeds offered by the Commando don't really make up the price difference. Now I could say that if the price drops some, the Commando becomes a much more attractive option. Maybe we'll see that happen after launch if sales numbers aren't quite up to snuff. Launch should be soon in the US and Europe, according to Apacer, with the unit already available in the UK. So what do you guys think of the Apacer PT920 Commando? Would you pick one up at launch? What about if the price drops a bit? Let me know down below in the comments. Also, don't forget to get subscribed to the channel if you're not already, and stay tuned for my 10,000 subscriber giveaway happening very soon. As always, guys, thanks for watching.